The email arrived while my tea was still steaming. Subject line: Estate of Marjorie Lane. I clicked with the pad of my thumb, the chipped rim of my blue mug warm against my palm. Attorney Hale's scan of the will filled the screen, neat signatures in black ink, and one spare sentence at the end. There is also a storage unit in your name. I let the sentence sit. The house made its ordinary sounds, the refrigerator's hum, a sparrow tapping at the window. I slid open the junk drawer, found the small tin where I keep spare keys and rubber bands, and lifted the lid. The faint smell of pennies rose. Nestled among old mailbox keys was a brass one on a loop, its tag handwritten in my mother's tidy letters, Unit 17B. I set the key on a napkin as if it might smudge, then pressed the phone icon on Hale's email. He answered on the second ring, voice even. Ms. Lane, I'm sorry for your loss. Thank you, I said, tracing the tag with my fingertip. I received the will. And the note about a storage unit. Yes, he said. For probate, the contents have to be inventoried. We'll keep it orderly. I can offer times for a status conference and set the next steps. I pulled a pencil from the ceramic cup by the stove and reached for the notepad on the refrigerator, the one with faint impressions from other lists. I'm ready. My phone buzzed with a message. Tessa, why you? Just the 2 words, sharp on the screen like a snapped twig. I closed my eyes, inhaled the tea's steam. I typed back, slow and fair. I'll keep you in every loop. We can do this together. Then I added a small heart I hoped would land gently. Hale suggested 3 options. I wrote them in block letters. Wed 1:30, Thu 3, Fry 9. The pencil moved calmly, the paper soft from years of grocery lists and birthday reminders. Friday morning works best, I said. Done, he replied. Probate status conference, courtroom B. I'll send a calendar invite. The email chimed a moment later. I tucked the brass key into my coin purse, zipped it, and placed the notepad magnet straight. My phone blinked a square on the calendar. Friday, 9 a.m. The quiet that followed felt like a held breath, waiting for the next step. Your mother left personal effects in the unit to you to steward. Not to own, Hale read, with instructions to share thoughtfully. His office felt like a cool library. File folders lined in tidy rows, blinds at an even angle, a bowl of peppermints shining like tiny moons. Tessa and I sat side by side, our knees almost touching. I could hear the faint tick from a wall clock and the whisper of paper as he turned the page. He cleared his throat and continued with the small bequests. Quilts to the grandchildren by age, he said, sliding a finger down the line. Recipe cards to the nieces who cook. The locket with the photo to Vanessa's daughter. His eyes lifted kindly. The larger category is the storage unit. He read the clause again, slower. Entrusted to Vanessa for sorting and fair sharing. Entrusted landed in me like a warm stone. Weight and comfort together. Tessa's jaw tightened. She didn't look at me. Why not both of us? She asked, voice even, shoulders squared. Hale folded his hands. Your mother used the word stewardship. In probate, that can mean one person is authorized to organize and distribute. Under the court's eye. It isn't a prize. It is a responsibility, I nodded. I understand. I don't want anything hidden, Tessa said. I want to see everything. No surprises later. That's healthy, Hale said. He opened a drawer and brought out a printed checklist. I can request a neutral appraiser. We can also put a chain of custody in place, and I'll advise the court to allow a structured opening. In my experience, transparency saves families from bruises. He glanced between us. I've seen kind people hurt each other with speed. Going slowly helps? Tessa leaned back, arms crossed. Witnesses, she said. I want witnesses when it's opened. I breathed in, breathed out. I'm fine with witnesses, I said. But I'd like some dignity. No grabbing, no rush, and if we need to pause, we pause. Hale smiled. Not for show, but in relief. Those are good ground rules. He tapped the calendar on his desk. You're already scheduled Friday at 9 for a status conference with Judge Morales. I'll file a request today asking for an ordered recorded inventory with a neutral appraiser present. The clock ticked. Outside, someone wheeled a cart down the hallway. Its wheels squeaked and then faded. We stood. Tessa slipped her bag strap over her shoulder. I reached for the peppermints and took one, the paper crinkling in my palm. Friday, Hale said, offering his hand. We'll make a plan in front of the judge. Friday, I echoed, and dropped the mint into my purse beside the brass key. If there's anything that proves you were always the favorite, Tessa says in the parking lot. I want it on record. We stand by her hatchback. the one with the cracked taillight mended with clear tape. The afternoon light is too bright, bouncing off windshields. She crosses her arms, and for a moment we're not two grown women, but two girls keeping watch for our mother's car. I hear you, I say. And I want a record too. A good one. I remember packing lunches at the kitchen counter when Mom worked double shifts. 2 peanut butter sandwiches, 2 apples, a note in crayon so Tessa would smile at noon. I remember counting out bus fare from a jar and laying her library book on top so she wouldn't forget it. Tessa looks past me. I remember different things, she says quietly. Your room was bigger. Teachers called you first. I waited after practice more than once, and it felt like the world forgot me. It shouldn't have felt that way. I say, I'm sorry for the parts I could have helped and didn't. She exhales, a small cloud in warm air. I don't want this to be another time I'm waiting on the curb. Then let's make rules, I say. Together. No shouting, no grabbing. Everything gets logged before anyone takes anything home. And witnesses, she adds. People who aren't us. Yes, I say. And if either of us needs to pause, we pause. Dignity, even when we're upset, she nods. Write it down. Send it to the lawyer. I unlock my phone. The screen shows Hale's name from this morning. I type, could you please put our inventory procedures in writing, neutral appraiser, chain of custody, witnesses, pauses allowed? We want transparency. A reply pings almost at once. Of course. I'll draft a plan and file the request for Friday. You'll have it this afternoon. Thank you. I whisper to the glass. I text Pastor Ruth next. On standby Friday? We may need wisdom and a breather. She answers with simple words that feel like a hand on my shoulder. I'm here. Call any time. The brass key has been in my palm this whole time, warming. I tuck it into my coin purse and zip it closed. The sound is small and decisive. For the file, I take a photo, the key, the tag that reads Unit 17B, my hand steady in the frame. I save it in the folder on my phone named Mom. Tessa opens her car door and hesitates. My calendar buzzes. Probate status conference Friday 9:00 a.m. I nod toward the screen. We'll be ready, I say, and the reminder settles between us like a promise. Friday will come gently. The hallway outside courtroom B smells like coffee and floor polish, and the bailiff nods me toward the bench. Tessa hands me a paper cup, the lid whispering when I sip. We sit shoulder to shoulder, back straight, trying to be small and steady. Hale appears with a file and a calm face. Good morning, he says, taking the spot beside us. He shows us the motion he filed, his finger landing on the clean lines. Neutral appraiser, locksmith, chain of custody, allowance for pauses. I'll present it plainly, he adds. A wall clock clicks 1 measured second at a time. Through the open door, I see the state seal hanging over a polished bench, and a small digital recorder blinking a red dot. Stacks of case files sit like brick houses beside the clerk. All rise, the bailiff says when Judge Morales enters. We stand. She looks like someone who keeps promises, composed, direct, attentive. Please be seated, she says. Hale steps forward. Your Honor, this is a request for an ordered inventory of a storage unit subject to probate, he begins. He lists the pieces the way you set a table. A neutral appraiser to tag items, a locksmith to open and reseal, a documented chain of custody, and a recording for the court's record. The goal is fairness, not spectacle. Tessa leans toward the microphone. I want eyes on everything, she says, her voice tight but not raised. I don't want to be left out again. I clear my throat. And if there must be cameras, I say, I ask for dignity on camera. No prying, just record-keeping. The judge folds her hands. Understood. Her questions come like stepping stones. Where's the unit located? Has the lock been disturbed? Who will be present from the facility? Is there a possibility of private correspondence that should be handled with care? Hale answers each in turn. Green box storage, intact lock, the manager will attend. We propose a narrow privacy allowance so personal letters can be set aside and cataloged without public display. The judge nods, making a note with a blue pen. And you agree to a neutral appraiser? We do, I say, and Tessa nods once. A faint whir comes from the recorder. The fluorescent lights hum like bees. My phone buzzes in my bag. Pastor Ruth's text reads, I'm praying for a calm morning. Very well, Judge Morales says, looking up. I'm going to draft specific orders. She rises. We'll take a short recess. The bailiff gestures for us to remain nearby. I trace the grain in the bench with my fingertip, breathe slowly, and watch the door to chambers close with a soft click. We wait for the call. Judge Morales returns with a single page and a clear voice. The storage unit shall be opened and inventoried on video. Paper rustles as the clerk sets a copy by her elbow. The judge's blue pen touches the margin. Conditions, she says, steady as a metronome. A sheriff's deputy will attend. An independent appraiser will be present. The storage facility manager and a licensed locksmith will facilitate access and resealing. A continuous recording will document the process for probate. I feel my shoulders loosen a fraction. Tessa's hands are folded tight in her lap. I see the white half-moons of her nails. Sensitive materials, the judge continues, including letters, photographs, or anything of a private nature, may be set aside for a privacy review by counsel. Mr. Hale, you will maintain custody during any such review. Yes, Your Honor, Hale replies. His voice is calm, like a road without potholes. Monday at 10 a.m., she says, looking from Tessa to me. You'll meet at the facility. The court authorizes reasonable pauses if emotions escalate. She pauses, and the room feels held. We are guardians of dignity today. The words land like a soft blanket. I nod. Tessa nods too, a quick dip of her chin. The bailiff moves along our row, placing copies of the signed order in our hands. The paper is warm from the printer. Hale steps closer and circles the date, then underlines a name. Ms. Lynn, the appraiser, he whispers. Very professional. I slide the order into a manila folder labeled in my handwriting. Unit 17B. A sticky note on the front reads, Bring gloves, notepad, water. I add, breathing to myself, patience. From somewhere deep in her bag, Tessa's phone vibrates. She glances down, thumbs a short reply, and tucks it away. Let's step downstairs to go over logistics, Hale says. Parking, contact numbers, and how the recording will be handled. We stand. The bench creaks politely. The bailiff opens the door, and hallway air, cooler and carrying coffee, slips in. I gather my purse, check that the brass key is zipped into the coin purse, and place the folder on top like a shield. In the corridor, the elevator dings. Lobby, Hale suggests. We'll make a simple list. Simple sounds good, I say. Tessa murmurs. As long as it's clear, it will be, I answer. And we follow the soft light toward the stairs, ready to plan the next careful step. Hale checks his watch. We'll confirm the storage manager and locksmith this afternoon, and Ms. Lynn's availability, he says. The clerk passes us stamped copies with a wave. In the lobby, a table waits. My phone buzzes. A calendar invite for Monday. 10 sharp. If there must be cameras, I told Hale, let them be for record keeping, not a spectacle. We had claimed a small lobby table near a potted fern. The marble floor reflected the fluorescent lights, and someone's coffee perfumed the air. Hale set the manila folder between us and clicked his pen. The order requires a continuous recording for probate, he said. The deputy's body cam will cover chain of custody. The clerk can also check out a portable court recorder to sit on a tripod so there's an uninterrupted file. Tessa cupped her paper cup, eyes on the rim. I don't want close-ups of our faces if we cry. That's reasonable, Hale said. We can set boundaries on framing. Ms. Lynn called just then, and Hale put her on speaker. Her voice was crisp and kind. For inventory accuracy, I prefer a clear video that shows items on a table as they're tagged, she said. Wide shot, no narrative, just hands and labels. It helps me verify serial numbers and prevent misunderstandings. I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. Hands and labels sound fine. Hale dialed the storage facility, and the manager answered with a steady voice. When he explained the order, she said, We sometimes coordinate with the town's public access channel for civic documentation. They're neutral, and their footage becomes a clean archive. No commentary. Tessa lifted her head. Could they avoid filming letters? And can we choose not to show our faces? Yes, the manager replied. We can place cameras wide and tilt away during private materials. Faces can be kept out of frame or blurred later. Then that's the circle we draw, I said softly. Record keeping, not a show. We wrote simple rules on the back of an envelope. No narration, no close-ups of private letters, faces optional. Hale read them back like a promise. He exchanged numbers with Ms. Lynn, the deputy, the manager, and the public access producer. We added ours to the thread. I called Pastor Ruth. We're set for Monday, I said. Would you be nearby? I'll keep my morning free, she answered. Text me where to wait. You can step out if you need a breath. Thank you, I said, feeling my shoulders loosen. The brass key sat in my palm, warm now, the tag's ink familiar as my mother's grocery lists. I slid it back into my coin purse and zipped it shut. Hale's phone chimed as the group text arrived. See you Monday. 9 to 45 a.m. Greenbox storage. Unit 17B. I saved the thread, tucked the folder under my arm, and stood, ready to gather what we'd need. Outside, the clock tower chimed once, and Monday began to feel close, very real. At my mother's desk, the wood worn smooth by her wrists, I pull the chair out and sit in the quiet. Dust motes drift in the late light like tiny boats. The blotter still smells faintly of lemon oil. I open the top drawer expecting paper clips and stamps, and find the small stack of things she always kept ready. A clipboard with a clean sheet, a packet of index cards bound with a rubber band, 2 fresh pens tucked alongside a roll of brown packing tape, and a sleeve of masking labels. Beneath the labels lies a memo in her script. Unit 17B, open with grace. The words look like her voice sounds in my memory. Measured, hopeful, practical. I lift the note and rest it on the blotter, flattening the curling corner with my thumb. The brass key in my coin purse seems to answer from my bag with its quiet weight. On the desk, a silver frame leans toward the light. 2 girls in raincoats grin at a puddle, knees muddy, bangs crooked. I touch the glass and feel the coolness. We turned out all right, I tell those small faces. We'll try to do this right too. I slide the clipboard, index cards, and pens into my canvas tote. The packing tape follows with a soft thump. From the laundry room shelf, I collect a box of nitrile gloves and tuck a few pairs into a zip bag. In the linen drawer, I find a soft cotton cloth, the kind that never scratches, and fold it twice. On the vanity, in a dish that once held bobby pins, sits a small cedar sachet she loved. I bring it to my nose. The scent is clean and wooded, like her hall closet in winter. I take a photo of the memo on the blotter and send it to Tessa. Found this in Mom's drawer. Her reply arrives almost at once. A heart, then, okay. The little word feels like a breath held and then let go. I write our names on the top index card, Vanessa and Tessa, and add simple headings. Box, label, note. Not because we'll make a show of it, but because words on paper slow hands down. The house settles around me, the old radiators clicking. I tuck the memo into a clear sleeve and slide it into the folder marked Unit 17B. My phone, face down on the desk, buzzes twice. The reminder lights the screen. Meet the storage manager Sunday afternoon to confirm access and sign forms. I tap accept and add a bell icon. The room feels answered. I set the tote by the door, smooth the note flat, and switch off lamp. The bell over the glass door gave a ring as we stepped into green box storage. The front office was clean and humming, the kind of quiet that sounds like machines doing jobs. Carla, the manager, slid a ledger across the counter and tapped a neat signature midway down the page. Your mother, she said, smiling gently. Paid up, no arrears, no drama, I exhaled. The brass key warmed in my coin purse like it had heard and settled. Carla pulled out a printed map and a yellow highlighter. Unit 17B is here, she said, drawing a small star. She traced the aisles in fluorescent yellow, then marked 2 red squares. Fire exits. We keep the lanes clear. The roll-up door on 17B is original, but the track is smooth. No dings, no rust. Tessa leaned closer. Will it stick? Not if we guide it, Carla replied. And Mr. Ortiz will be here with me when you open. The locksmith stepped in from the hallway as if cued. He was compact and unhurried, carrying a tidy case with trays like a jeweler's. I'm Ortiz, he said, flipping the clasps. Inside lay bolt cutters wrapped in cloth, a new cylinder lock, numbered tamper seals in a band, and a stack of tags. We'll remove your mother's lock, document, and after inventory, reseal with court numbers. 2 signatures on the seal receipt plus the deputy's. Hale's order lay on the counter. Carla photocopied it, the copier's warm light stroking the page. She slid 1 copy into a clear sleeve, tucked it into their file, and clipped another to a clipboard labeled 17B Court. Ms. Lynn arrived with a canvas satchel and a pleasant nod. I like to keep tags neutral, she said, placing a small tray of cream-colored cards on the counter. Item number, brief description, condition, nothing interpretive. If a box is letters, I write simply letters. We'll photograph tags next to items as we go. That helps, I said. My phone buzzed. The screen showed unknown caller. I answered. This is Deputy Hart, a steady voice said. Confirming Monday, arrival 9:45, parking in the east lot. I'll activate body cam when we start and announce pauses if needed. Thank you, I said. We appreciate your presence. We just like things tidy, he replied, and ended the call. Carla turned a log toward us. Authorized contacts and acknowledgments, she said. I signed my name slowly. Tessa initialed beside mine. Carla wrote the date and time, then added her own signature and Mr. Ortiz's. Would you like to see the door? She asked. We followed her down the cool, echoing corridor, fluorescent lights ticking awake as we passed. The numbers marched in painted stencils. 15A, 16C, 17B, there it was. A roll-up door like every other, beige and quiet, the lock snug. The edges dusted with the kind of gray that collects when time minds its business. Looks healthy, Mr. Ortiz said, running a finger along the track. We nodded, ready for Monday. The public access producer, Maya, meets us by the front office door with a clipboard. We'll be wallpaper, she says, kind eyes behind simple frames. You won't know we're here. Carla stands nearby with her ring of keys. 2 camera operators roll in cases and lift out slim tripods. They move quietly, measuring corners with their feet, testing for squeaks. We can plant one wide at the corridor mouth, one inside facing the table, Maya suggests. No roaming. Wide only, I repeat, hearing how the words calm the air. Hale opens his folder and rests a single page on the counter. Consent, he says. Plain language. I uncapped a pen and read line by line. Recording for court record. No narration. No close-ups of private documents. Faces optional. Pauses may be called by counsel or deputy. I circle the privacy sentence until the ink thickens, then slide the page to Tessa. She taps the margin with her nail. And if we cry, she murmurs, you stay wide. We stay wide, Maya confirms. If you prefer, we can blur faces in post. She lifts a hand to show the framing from her point of view. Elbows, table, labels, not eyes. Deputy Hart steps in, nodding at Carla. I'll announce body cam on, he says, and camera paused when we stop. Simple commands. His radio crackles and then quiets. That works, Hale says. He writes commands into the margin. Tessa glances at my tote, where a corner of the cedar sachet peeks out. Could we have a safe word? She asks. Something we can say that means we need a breath. Choose it, Maya says. Cedar, I offer, touching the sachet. The word tastes clean. Everyone tries it, light smiles moving around the circle. Cedar, Maya repeats, making a note. The operators nod and write it on a strip of gaffer's tape. I pull a roll of blue painter's tape from the tote and tear off a neat length. Kneeling, I lay a gentle line on the floor where we want the tripods to stop. This is our boundary, I say. People, not props. Understood, Maya says, and she places a tripod foot just shy of the blue. Numbers are exchanged. Hale dictates the list to the log. Carla clips the consent to her clipboard, and we all initial the bottom. The room feels tidier with signatures. Outside, the light is softer than when we walked in. On the way home, my phone buzzes with a group text confirming Monday 9:45. At the house, I lay out clothes, charge my phone, tuck the cedar sachet beside the key, and set my alarm early. The quiet feels like a hand smoothing the covers before sleep. The deputy nods. Mr. Ortiz clips the lock. The metal gives with a soft click that sounds louder than it is. The corridor holds its breath. I feel mine fall into step with it. We arrived at 9:45 as planned. Deputy Hart announced, body cam on, tapping the badge where the small lens blinked. Maya's 2 cameras showed their red lights, steady and small. Carla, the manager, stood with her clipboard. Hale checked the court order one more time, then tucked it back under his arm. Mr. Ortiz eased the shackle free and set the old lock on a white cloth. He lifted the handle and the roll-up door climbed with a low, careful rattle. A breath of cool, dusty air slid out, smelling like cardboard and faint cedar. I could almost hear my mother's quiet humming under it. Inside, boxes were stacked to shoulder height, labels in her tidy hand facing outward. A cedar chest sat squarely at the back, a rolled rug leaned against the right wall, and a milk crate of VHS tapes waited beside a covered sewing machine. On top of a short stack, a banker's box in black marker read, Papers. Ms. Lynn stepped to the line we'd taped on the floor and lifted a tray of cream tags. I'll speak softly, she said, just enough to mark the item and its number. She wrote 17B001, box, kitchen, and hooked the card to the first lid. Description, condition, photo with tag. No commentary, I nodded. I'll read the labels aloud as we go. It felt right to put our voices into the room. Tessa stood ready with the index cards and a pen, the top card headed box, label, note. Her handwriting settled into its neat slope. We opened the folding table and covered it with a quilt from the top box, a small one with stars. It seems strong, its fabric soft from years of washing. For fragile things, I said. Tessa smoothed the corners, and a calm passed between us. Time marker 10:02, Deputy Hart announced gently. Inventory begins. I lifted the first lid. Recipe books lay inside like old friends, spines cracked, pages flagged with slips of paper. Applesauce cake, shepherd's pie, gingerbread. At the bottom, a single card sat apart. Holiday menu written in the looping script I knew as well as my own. Cinnamon rolls, ham with glaze, pears and syrup. I felt my throat warm and set the card on the quilt for its photo beside Ms. Lynn's tag. Box 1. Recipe books, Tessa said, writing. Note, holiday menu card. I read labels aloud, slow and clear. Winter quilts, church, VHS papers, Ms. Lynn tagged each. Hale checked the chain of custody form on his clipboard. Maya kept her frames wide and still. Outside, traffic hissed along the road. Inside, our sounds were small. Pen, paper, breath. We shifted the papers box to one side, still sealed, and noted its presence. The sewing machine's cover held a faint bloom of dust. Ms. Lynn made a card for it and photographed the cereal plate. The rolled rug got a tag and a brief, wool-patterned. Next recommendation, Ms. Lynn said softly, pointing with her capless pen. The cedar chest will anchor our list. Deputy Hart looked to us. Cameras are still rolling, he said. Proceed when ready. I touched the quilt to ground myself, then moved my hand toward the chest's lid, letting it hover while the room settled around the choice to open it next. Cedar, Tessa whispers. And we all smile at our chosen word as I lift the lid. The hinges sigh. The scent rises. Clean, wooded, a breath of our grandmother's hallway, sweet and stern together. I smooth my palm across the inside rim, then fold the lid back so it won't fall. The light from the corridor warms the grain, and for a beat the unit feels like a room we used to live in. Inside, quilts rest in careful stacks, their colors quieted by the dim. I lift a folded star and lay it on the table quilt to make room. Beneath it, a wedding veil, fine as cobweb, gathered on a small comb. A square jewelry box the size of my palm. I open it and find a brooch shaped like a leaf, small pearls like dew along its stem. An envelope of pressed violets lies beside it, petals flat between tissue, purple turned dusky. Ms. Lynn's pen moves softly. 17B020, she murmurs. Textiles, quilt, another tag. Veil, netting. She photographs the tags next to each item, then lifts her lens toward the brooch. Brooch, leaf, costume, or fine to be determined, she says. She slips a card under the envelope of violets. Botanical keepsake. The deputy writes, head bent, body still as stone. Near the back, partly tucked under a quilt's edge, I see a white envelope sealed in a neat line of glue. The handwriting on the front is familiar down to its loops and pauses, for my girls together. My fingers hesitate above it. The space around us narrows into a softer quiet. Private envelope scene, Deputy Hart says for the record. Ms. Lynn tags the chest itself and the space the envelope occupied, careful not to obstruct the writing. Maya tips both cameras down toward the floor, catching only the edge of the chest in our hands. We'll stay wide, she reminds, voice no louder than a breath. I look to Hale. May we read this privately? I ask, calm. The order mentioned a privacy allowance. He nods, already reaching for the copy. Yes, he says, tapping the paragraph with his pen. Council may review sensitive materials off camera with parties present. We can step to the office. Tessa's hand finds my sleeve. Cedar, she whispers again, and the word steadies my next inhale. I slide the envelope from its place, cradle it in both hands, and tuck it temporarily into a rigid folder so the edges don't bend. Ms. Lynn photographs the folder beside the chest and writes a brief notation. Sealed letter. Private review. Body cam continues, the deputy says. Movement to office. Carla gestures down the corridor. Hale gathers the chain of custody sheet and clicks his pen closed. Maya lifts a palm. We'll hold in place, she says. We head for the office. Camera paused, the deputy says as the door opens softly. In the quiet office, I ease the envelope open with my mother's silver letter opener, the one shaped like a leaf. The paper parts with a whisper. We sit close at the small table, Hale by the door, Tessa beside me, the deputy's body cam paused outside. The hum of the vending machine in the hall becomes a kind of heartbeat. I unfold the first page. My mother's handwriting leans toward us with its familiar loops. My girls, it begins. If this is in your hands, I could not tell it with my mouth. I read aloud, steady as I can, so the air can carry the words. She writes about waiting. Years of doctors and good advice, then the long winter where hope stayed but did not bloom. She writes about a call from the agency, a Tuesday, rain on the kitchen window, and the feeling in her chest when they said there was a baby. Dark hair, soft fingers, healthy, ready for a home. Tessa, I read, the ink shaping her name tenderly. You were placed in my arms and that was that. You were mine by love the instant I breathed. My voice thins and gathers again. We chose a closed adoption then, the way it was mostly done. I regret the secrecy. Forgive me. Vanessa was 8, and I promised to tell you both when the time felt kind. Time did not behave. Tessa's breath catches. The sound in the small room is sharp, a single scream that tears out before she can stop it. It hangs, startling and honest, then folds into her hand as she covers her mouth, eyes wet, shoulders shivering. I pull her into me. Our foreheads touch. Her hair smells like apple shampoo, a memory as ordinary as a napkin folded by a plate. I keep reading, slower now, giving each sentence room. You are sisters, she wrote. Please decide together how to share this truth. There is a card enclosed for a social worker, Ms. Alvarez, who can help with records and careful steps. Go at your pace. Choose people who keep your dignity. I slide the card free from the envelope's pocket and set it on the table. White, simple, a name, a number. Hale closes the office door with a soft click, then lays a box of tissues within reach and waits, eyes lowered, not rushing. A gentle knock sounds. I open the door and beckon with my chin. Pastor Ruth steps in from the lobby and rests a steady hand on our shoulders. I'm here, she murmurs, a quiet anchor. Let's pause, Hale says after a beat, voice kind. We can call when you're ready. We'll resume cameras only for general inventory. Tessa nods against me. I press the card under my palm as if to keep it from floating away. We breathe, sip the water cups on the table, and let the machines hum while the hallway waits for our next step. We hang a handwritten, brief pause note on the office door, a small boundary in blue ink. I smooth the paper with my palm and fix it with a strip of blue painter's tape. Hale steps into the hall to inform the deputy. Camera paused. We hear him announce, the words soft but official. Maya leans in the doorway. When you're ready, we'll keep to wide frames, she says. No contents on camera. Thank you, I say. Record keeping, not exposure. Ms. Lynn opens her satchel and lays out a thinner stack of cream tags. We can switch to categories, she offers. Letters, photos, textiles, tools, count, condition, box number, no details about what's written or pictured. Tessa nods and wraps the cedar sachet in her palm. She brings it to her nose and closes her eyes. The faint wooded scent steadies the room more than the humming vents do. Let's set a timer, I say, unlocking my phone. 15 minutes glows on the screen. I tap start and place it face up on the table beside 2 paper cups of water. We sit. We breathe. Hale takes the chair near the door and simply waits. A legal pad on his knee, pen capped. I pull an index card from the clipboard and write a small list. Each item given its own line so my mind won't crowd them together. Call social worker. Continue inventory with category tags. Gather documents for Hale's file. Schedule counselor meeting. Update Judge Morales if needed. The card from the envelope rests under my hand. I dial the number. Ms. Alvarez, comes a gentle voice. This is Vanessa, I say. From the Lane family. I'm here, she says, as if she's been sitting with us already. I explain we found a letter. We are in the middle of an inventory. We'd like guidance. We can schedule a call for tomorrow, she says, where we can talk options and pace. You may choose who sits in. Your pastor would be welcome. I look to Tessa. She nods. Tomorrow morning? I ask. 9 or 11, Ms. Alvarez offers. 11, please, I say, glancing at Tessa again. She mouths thank you. I'll call you then, Ms. Alvarez says. And if you prefer video or phone, either is fine. Phone, I say. For now, we end the call. I type the appointment into my calendar and add, Pastor Ruth invited to the notes. A text arrives from Ruth on its own, as if she felt the air move. I'm nearby. I can sit in quietly if you want. I reply, 11 tomorrow, phone. Please join us. Hale uncaps his pen. I'll file a short notice with the court that we encountered sensitive materials and are proceeding with category cataloging, he says. No content details. Thank you, I answer. The timer chimes. A soft bell. We stand. Tessa presses the sachet into her pocket. I fold the index card list and slip it under the phone case where it will not be lost. In the hall, the deputy's knuckles tap the door lightly. "Ready when you are," he says. Maya steps back, already angling a tripod toward the blue tape line. We lift our cups for one more sip, gather the folder, and walk toward the corridor's cool light, prepared to continue slowly. "Family truth can bruise before it blesses," Pastor Ruth says, settling into the office chair with her small notebook. She smooths her skirt and looks at us as if she is holding a lantern. We pull our chairs closer. The tissue box sits between us like a white square of mercy. Hale takes the place by the door with his legal pad closed. My phone lies face up, the speaker ready. "Truth does not cancel love," she continues. "Love can hold truth. Let's breathe together." We do, in for 4, out for 6. Her pen scratches. Now 1 hope and 1 fear, each short and plain. Tessa threads her fingers with mine. "Fear first," she whispers. "Less real, like everything I remember might be pretend." She swallows. "Hope? To feel chosen, not by accident, on purpose." "You are not an accident," Ruth says, warm and steady. "Chosen is the word I would have picked too." She turns to me. "My fear is losing you while trying to do right," I say. "My hope is that we build something gentler than this moment feels." Ruth nods, then gestures to the phone. "Shall we bring Ms. Alvarez in for 5 minutes?" "We keep it simple today, deeper tomorrow." I tap call. Her voice lifts into the room, calm as flannel. "I have a few minutes before my next appointment. I saw your slot for tomorrow at 11, she says. "Today I can outline options." "Please," I say. "Adoption records depend on state law," she explains. We start with what we can request, non-identifying information, then, if desired, a formal search through the agency. Contact is consent-based. That means all parties say yes, with an intermediary, me or the agency, protecting privacy until everyone feels ready. You set pace. Some choose letters first, some a call, some wait for counseling. Tessa leans toward the phone. "What if I change my mind halfway?" "Then we slow or stop," Ms. Alvarez says. "You get to change your mind." I also recommend a support group and a counselor for you, separate from your sister, so you each have space. I can email resources and meet privately next week. I clear my throat. "What about timing?" "We are in the middle of a court-ordered inventory. My advice," she says, "is to finish the inventory before taking any big steps. Emotions are high. Information is coming fast. Let your bodies rest. Tomorrow we can map your path, then pause until the practical work is done." "That sounds wise," Ruth murmurs. "I'll send a short resource list now," Ms. Alvarez adds. "We'll talk fully tomorrow." We thank her, and the line clicks quiet. Hale uncaps his pen. "I'll file an update noting that sensitive items were encountered, and that you're proceeding with category cataloging and privacy measures. No content disclosed. Thank you," I say. And Tessa nods. Ruth squeezes our hands, one then the other. "You are doing this with care." Deputy Hart. Camera on, wide only. We return to the work. Back at the unit, I hold the papers box like a bird. Firm enough to carry, gentle enough not to crush. The cardboard whispers against my palms. Tessa steadies the table quilt, and Ms. Lynn lifts her tray of tags. "Camera on, wide only," Deputy Hart announces. Maya answers with a small wave from behind the blue line. I set the box on the quilt and lift the lid. Paper scent rises, ink, dust, a hint of cedar. The first layer is envelopes with handwriting. I glance at Hale. He nods. "Category only," he reminds. "Letters," Ms. Lynn says softly, placing a cream tag beside the stack. She photographs the tag, not words. Tessa writes letters, set aside on her index card, and slides the bundle into a clean banker's box labeled Private. Beneath the letters sit rubber-banded tax returns, years in order. "Records," I say. "Returns?" Ms. Lynn notes count and condition. The deputy signs the line on Hale's chain of custody sheet for the new private box. At the bottom rests a flat envelope with a bank's crest and my mother's handwriting across the front. Box 614, First County Bank. I feel the air change, not colder, just attentive. I tilt the flap. Inside is a small key on a blue plastic tag. It clicks against the envelope like a tiny bell. "Bank access item," Ms. Lynn says, printing the words and the number with deliberate strokes. She photographs the key beside its tag. "Recommend separate custody." I slip the key into a zippered pouch with Hale's card and write, "Bank, 614" on a piece of tape for the outside. The pouch goes into my purse, and I press the zipper closed with the flat of my thumb. Ordinary motion, careful meaning, we move on. The sewing machine's cover lifts with a puff of dust. Model and serial, Ms. Lynn murmurs, reading the plate and tagging the case. Tessa notes, sewing machine, tagged. The milk crate of VHS tapes gets a simple tally. Titles turned away from the lens. Maya keeps her frame the size of a doorway. A labeled shoebox catches my eye. Camcorder. Inside, a compact camcorder rests in gray foam, its charger coiled, a single cassette tucked in alongside with a date written in my mother's hand. I place the camera on the quilt and keep the cassette cupped like a finch. Video device, Ms. Lynn says, tagging the camcorder. Maya films a patient. Wide shot of the camera resting between our hands. The deputy adds a note, device located. Custody with family under counsel. Hale checks his watch. We should visit the bank, he says quietly. Morning is best. He dials and steps aside to speak with a receptionist. When he returns, he writes the appointment on my clipboard. Wednesday, 10. I nod, breathe, and slide the clipboard under my arm as we stack the next empty box. In a milk crate, beneath VHS tapes, a small notebook appears. Mom's neat columns of dates and notes. The cover is plain brown, the size of my palm, corners softened by use. I open to the first page and see the tidy lines that kept our home humming. Date, item, reason. Listen, I say, reading softly. Wedding veil, save for girls. Letters, private. Bank key, box 614. Video, rain day. The words land with the comfort of labeled shelves. There are other entries, too. Quilts, winter, sewing machine, serviceable. Recipes, holiday. Ms. Lynn leans closer, smiling at the order in the ink. Your mother was very intentional, she murmurs. It looks like her pantry, I say, relieved. Jars turned forward, everything with a place. Tessa touches the margin with one fingertip, as if to feel our mother's hand through the paper. The cedar sachet's scent threads the air, faint and clean. The unit stops feeling like a mystery and starts feeling like a careful archive we've been asked to tend. We set the notebook on the quilt for a photograph with a tag, record of stored items. I close it gently and place it beside the camcorder we found earlier in the shoebox. The camcorder is small, familiar in that early 2000s way. I flip the latch. It opens with a quiet click. A cassette with a date in Mom's handwriting waits in its compartment. Per the order, Deputy Hart says, checking his notes. An off-camera viewing of personal video is allowed in the office. He looks at Maya. We'll frame hands only while they test it. Maya adjusts the tripod, angling down so the lens sees the quilt. The camcorder, our fingers, not our faces. Wide, no sound, she says, and the red light glows like a calm heartbeat. I press the battery release and it slides into my palm. A spare sits in the shoebox, wrapped in tissue. I unroll it, half expecting it to be dead, and touch it into place. A green light blinks, stubborn and bright. Tessa lets out a small breath that feels like a yes. Noted, Ms. Lynn says, tagging the device. Video camera, tested. Battery operational. Hale writes on his chain of custody form. Device located. To office for private review. Counsel present. I gather the notebook and lift the camcorder as if it might bruise, firm, not tight. We leave the cassette where it is, still seated, and drape the soft cloth over my hand to steady the weight. Carla gestures down the hall toward the office, door glass catching corridor light. Movement to office, the deputy says for the record. Body cam will pause upon entry. Viewing off camera per order. Maya lowers her camera and steps back behind the blue tape. We carry the camcorder and the notebook together, our steps quiet on the concrete. Hale and Pastor Ruth will meet us inside. Ms. Lynn will witness at a respectful distance. The hum of the building grows softer as we near the door, and I feel the moment leaning toward us like a chair pulled out, ready. The camcorder whirs. Our mother's face fills the tiny screen, soft as rain on glass. She is at the kitchen table, the yellow one with a chip at the corner, a mug of tea to her right. Sunlight washes the linoleum in a pale square. My girls, she says, and the way she says it pushes the air out of my chest. She looks a little younger than I remember, hair pinned back, cardigan buttoned wrong at the top. Vanessa, she says, eyes steady. I admire your steadiness. You make lists when the world tilts. You keep a corner clean so others can sit and breathe. She turns her gaze a fraction. Tessa, she says, a smile rising. You bring color to quiet rooms. You feel everything and still you try again. I admire your brave heart. Her fingers meet, fold open. There is truth I could not shape with my mouth. I am shaping it here. She breathes. Tessa, You were placed in my arms on a Tuesday. It rained. I had been waiting a long time. We chose a closed adoption then, as was common. I regret the secrecy. You were always mine by love, from the first breath I took with you in my hands. Tessa's hand finds mine. I keep my eyes on the little screen. Vanessa, Mom continues. You were 8. I told myself I would speak when time felt kind. Time was stubborn. I am sorry. Her face softens. You are sisters. Please hold each other while you choose what to do with this truth. She glances at a folded paper beside the mug. There is a bank box, she says. First County Bank. Inside are your grandmother's rings, a deed addendum for the cottage's back lot, both of your names, and a sealed note for the judge. Take those to the bank and then to court with your lawyer. Let the record show care. She touches the mug, then looks back up. Quilts belong on laps that are cold, not locked in closets. Share them where they warm real shoulders. Choose community over spectacle. If there are letters or photographs, keep them safe until your hearts feel ready. Her voice softens again. I bless you. I bless your children, and the kitchens you will stand in, and the sidewalks you will walk. Be kind to yourselves. Be slow. It is all right to pause. She closes her eyes and says a simple prayer for courage and gentleness, for law and love to be friends. The screen holds her still face for a beat and then flickers to blue. We sit in the hush that follows, hearing only the camcorder's tiny fan. Ruth's hand rests on our shoulders. Tessa's grip is warm, trembling, alive. Hale clears his throat softly. We'll secure the tape, he says, sliding an evidence sleeve from his briefcase. Then we'll keep Wednesday's bank appointment and schedule a short court check-in after. I nod, press stop, and let the machine go quiet. The plan feels like a handrail as we stand to return to the corridor. We'll say less and do more, I tell Maya, and let the record show kindness. She nods, adjusting the tripod to the blue tape. Camera on wide only, Deputy Hart announces. We step into the unit, the air cool again. Ms. Lynn waits with her tray of tags. Hale opens his briefcase and brings out tamper-evident tape. We gather the private letters we set aside and nestle them into a fresh banker's box. I smooth the folders flat. Tessa lowers the lid. Hale runs a strip of red tape along each seam, then presses numbered tabs so they bridge lid and side. Sign across the tape, he says. We sign. The deputy watches, then fills a line on the chain of custody form. Letters box, sealed. Counsel custody. He signs, date and time. Then I initial beside his name. The camcorder tape goes into an evidence sleeve. Hale writes the case number on its label. The deputy notes it as video, family message, viewed privately per order. Maya keeps her frame wide, capturing hands, boxes, the formalities that make trust visible. She never tilts toward our faces. The corridor light washes the concrete like water settling. We fold quilts the way our mother taught us, corners to corners, pat the air out, stack without leaning. Ms. Lynn records counts and states. Winter quilts, 5. Church linens, 3. Tools, small box. Tessa pauses over one quilt stitched with small stars. For the church warming drive, she says, voice steadier. Ms. Lynn nods and tags it. Donation pending. Noted for probate. I see Mom's video in my mind. Quilts on laps that are cold, and feel something inside unclench. Ms. Lynn completes her list, the last tag curling slightly before it lies down. She prints a summary and clips it to a cardboard backing. Hale reads it, marks places for signatures, and passes it to the deputy and Carla. Pens move. The deputy signs again for the letters box and for the tape. Hale initials every receipt and hands me a copy for the folder. Ready to close? Mr. Ortiz asks. We step back to the sill. He guides the roll-up door down until it meets the concrete with a soft line. A new cylinder lock slides in. The court seal stretches across, white with a stamped emblem. Seal number 429, the deputy says, logging it. The corridor's hum returns like a low hymn. We'll meet at First County Bank Wednesday at 10, Hale reminds, tapping my clipboard. I nod. We thank Carla and the crew and carry our lighter bags to the car. That night, my phone buzzes once in the quiet. Tessa, thank you. I press a hand over the screen, breathe, and turn my thoughts toward Wednesday morning. The banker, Ms. Patel, slides a signature card across the polished counter and says, Box 614 is ready. Her pen is tethered by a silver chain. The vault door behind her looks like a moon. I hand over my ID. Hale does the same. Tessa sets the small blue-tagged key on the counter, and Ms. Patel turns it once in her palm as if greeting an old friend. This way, she says, leading us through the vault door into a cool hallway. The carpet hushes our steps. A clerk brings the narrow metal drawer and rests it on a rolling cart. We follow into a small viewing room with a table, 2 chairs, and a quiet lamp. Ms. Patel twists the key, then lifts the lid. Inside, everything is as Mom promised. A velvet ring box, a folded document with a notary stamp, and a sealed envelope addressed in my mother's careful hand to Judge Morales. I open the velvet box. Our grandmother's wedding set lies in its nest, gold softened by time, diamonds bright as water. Tessa strokes the band with her fingertip. "May I?" she asks. "Please," I say, and hold my breath as she slides the ring on. It settles as though it remembers her, circling her finger with an ease that makes my throat warm. Hale unfolds the document. "Addendum to deed," he reads, scanning. "Backlot of the cottage, joint tenancy, both sisters named." He looks up and smiles, relief in it. "This is straightforward. We'll record it with the clerk." Ms. Patel steps out and returns with a copier cart. "Let me make clean copies for your file," she offers. We nod and the machine hums. She hands us crisp duplicates. Hale tucks them into a clear sleeve and notes the date. I take photos for our folder, the ring set in its box, the addendum's heading, the sealed envelope's front with the judge's name. Hale slides the judge's envelope into an evidence sleeve, writes a case note on the label, and seals it with a tamper strip. We place the ring back into its velvet bed. Tessa watches it rest and then presses her fingers to her palm, as if holding the feeling there. "Everything back in order?" Ms. Patel asks. We nod. She locks the empty drawer, guides it out, and smiles. "You're all set." In the lobby, Hale is already tapping dates on his phone. "I'll request a brief hearing to deliver the judge's note and file the addendum," he says. My phone buzzes a moment later with a calendar invite. "Tomorrow afternoon works," he adds. We thank Ms. Patel, tuck the copies into the manila folder, and step into the gentle daylight. The ring's memory glows on Tessa's hand. We walk to the car, papers neat, the next stop already finding its place on our day. Back in courtroom B, Hale places the sealed envelope and Ms. Lynn's inventory list on the clerk's table. The same state seal looks down on us. The same wooden benches hold our careful spines. I rest our manila folder on my lap, the edge warmed by my hands. Tessa sits close enough that our sleeves touch. The deputy nods from his post, and the digital recorder blinks its steady red light. "All rise," the bailiff says. Judge Morales takes the bench with her composed grace. Hale steps to the lectern. "Your Honor, we return with the items referenced in your order," he says, naming the inventory, the sealed letters box receipt, the video evidence, and the envelope for her eyes only. The judge accepts the stack, then lifts the sealed envelope with 2 fingers. "I'll review this in chambers," she says. She steps through the side door, and the room exhales. I watch the slit of light under the door and count my breaths, the way Pastor Ruth taught me. Tessa's hand finds mine for a moment and squeezes once. When the judge returns, her expression is soft around the eyes. She sets the envelope on the bench and looks at us. "Your mother wrote with clarity and grace," she says, voice low. "Thank you for honoring the spirit of her words." Hale offers Ms. Lynn's list. The judge scans the pages, initialing here and there. "The inventory is accepted," she announces. The deputy steps forward, presenting the chain of custody entries for the letters box and the video. She signs both with a blue pen that glides. Hale lays the deed addendum on the clerk's blotter. The clerk stamps it with a satisfying thunk. "We'll record this now," the judge says. "Both of you, please sign." We stand together at the table. The pen is smooth. My name comes out steady. Tessa signs, then looks up at me with a small, brave smile. The judge nods. Joint ownership recorded. Hale clears his throat gently. We also have a proposed list of quilt donations, reflective of the decedent's wishes expressed on video. He offers a single page. The judge reads and nods again. Approved. Attached to the file. The deputy hands over a slip. "Seal receipt for Unit 17B, he says. The judge glances at it and returns it to me. "It feels like a ribbon tied off. Anything further?" she asks. "One request," Hale says. "That the file reflect the care taken with private materials, without describing contents." "Approved," she replies. Her gavel taps once, softer than a cup set on a saucer. "Thank you for your restraint." We step out to the hallway and sit on the same worn bench. The air feels cooler inside our chests. I lay the stamped copies between us, edges aligned, and listen to the clock's unhurried tick. The courthouse doors stand open, and the light from the steps invites us forward. On the courthouse steps, Tessa says, "I want to know my beginning, but I want to do it right. The stone is cool through my shoes." The flag above us lifts and settles as if agreeing to slow. Let's call Ms. Alvarez, I say. We sit on the low wall by the planter. I set my tote between us, open the folder just enough to see the stamped copies, then tap speaker on my phone. She answers on the second ring. This is Elena Alvarez. Vanessa and Tessa, I say. We've just come from court. We're ready to understand the next steps. All right, she says, gentle and precise. Consent-based contact means we begin with non-identifying information, requested from the agency. If you wish to proceed, I or the agency act as intermediary. No addresses are shared until everyone says yes. You can start with a letter. You can pause at any point. Tessa leans toward the phone. What holds me up is pace, she says. I need slow. Slow is good, Ms. Alvarez replies. I also recommend a support group and a counselor for you. I'll send a short list. We can meet privately next week. No decisions today. Could we put something on your calendar? I ask. Tuesday or Thursday afternoon, she offers. In person or video? Thursday, Tessa says. 2:00 in person. Done, Ms. Alvarez says. I'll email directions and a consent form to read, not to sign yet. Bring a notebook. Bring questions. I glance at Tessa. Do you want me to come or wait in the lobby? Come, she says, and her mouth tips into a small brave smile. Please. My phone buzzes. A message from Pastor Ruth. 2 praying hands and a heart. I send back Thursday at 2. Sitting with us in spirit. Hale steps out, joins us for a moment. Remember, he says, hands in his pockets. Stewardship can include saying, not yet. Keep your circle small until you feel ready. I'll note in the file that you're proceeding with care. We'll tell close family only for now, I say. Tessa nods. My daughter, and the small handful who actually hold us. Wise, he says. Call if you need me. Maya and her team pass by with their cases. Thank you for trusting us, she says. We'll keep it tasteful, wide frames, blurs as promised. She touches her clipboard. If you want to review before it airs on public access, we can arrange that. Thank you, I say. We appreciate kindness. We tuck the papers back into the folder and clip it shut. Tessa rubs the place where the ring rested earlier, then laughs softly at herself. Clouds gather, but the light stays kind. Tea? I ask. Tea and quilts, she says. We walk to the car, doors clicking closed in the same moment, and aim the hood toward the cottage where the kettle waits, and a stack of folded color needs our hands. We spread quilts across the cottage sofa like stained glass made of fabric and history. Light catches indigo triangles and calico stars, tiny stitches shining. I smooth corners the way Mom taught me. Palms gentle. No stretching. Tessa checks the batting and hums. Pastor Ruth arrives with 2 volunteers, Lila and Mr. Benton, each carrying totes. Strong backs and soft hands, she says, setting her notebook on the mantel. The room smells of tea and lemon oil. I polished the table this morning to welcome the work. Ms. Harper, the local archivist, follows with a tidy rolling case. She lays out acid-free sleeves and a climate-safe box. We won't open anything sealed by the court, she says. Recipes, photographs, and bulletins can go in sleeves. The sealed letters box can rest inside this container, away from heat. We tape a simple list to the table, headings in Tessa's neat hand. Shelter, new mothers, seniors. Lila lifts a quilt to the light. Warm and sturdy, she decides, and I tick the shelter line. Mr. Benton gathers lap throws for the senior center. Ruth thanks each quilt as if it can hear. Ms. Harper sleeves photographs without hurry, labeling edges in pencil. Christmas, church picnic, spring recital. She shows me how to cradle a brittle program like a bird. The goal is future hands, she says. We set the sealed letters box into the climate-safe container and add a blue card. Do not open without counsel. The public access team stops by quietly. Maya hands me a card in blue ink. Thank you for your trust. We are keeping it gentle. She doesn't ask to film. She photographs our donation list for the final scroll, then slips out with a wave. The room returns to folding. We take photos for our album and the court file. Wide, no close-ups. Tessa studies a star quilt. This one's for my couch, she says, then lifts a faded log cabin. And this for yours. Agreed, I say, smoothing the seams my mother repaired on winter evenings. By size and wear, the piles find their destinations. We stack shelter quilts by the door, baby-sized ones into Lila's tote, lap throws into Mr. Benton's. Ruth ties string around each bundle and says thanks. Ms. Harper closes the climate-safe box and writes our names and the date on a label. As the sun lowers, we carry donations to car trunks and wave them down the gravel. The cottage grows quiet. The good way work leaves behind. I set the kettle on and bring out 2 mugs. Chamomile waiting. Tessa drapes our chosen quilts over the sofa's arm, and the room seems to exhale. The kettle purrs. Steam ribbons rise from our mugs. The cottage windows glow with the last of the day. We sit side by side on the sofa, our chosen quilts folded over the arm. Chamomile kissed with honey warming our hands. The lemon oil I wiped across the table lingers. Outside, the gravel is quiet. Inside, the clock in the hall keeps an honest tick. I didn't know that sound could come from me, Tessa says after a while. The scream. It just left. She presses her palm to her throat, then drops it to her lap. I felt cracked and whole at the same time. I heard love in it, I say. And shock. Both true. I let my shoulder touch hers. Thank you for letting me hold you, she nods. Everyone held us, didn't they? Judge Morales with those words about dignity. The deputy, steady as a fence post. Ms. Lynn so careful. Even Maya with her cameras not looking where they shouldn't. And Carla and Mr. Ortiz with that clean seal, I add. Then Ms. Patel at the bank, soft as a librarian. I smile. You looked chosen when the ring slid on, like the band recognized your hand. Tessa looks at her fingers and laughs quietly. I did feel chosen, like something in the room said yes. She sips her tea. And on that bench this afternoon, I could breathe again. I turn my mug slowly. I was afraid I'd lose your trust, I admit. That stewardship would feel like stealing. You didn't, she says. You kept the tape still and your voice gentle. That mattered, she leans back. I want to walk carefully now. We will, I say. Thursday at 2 with Ms. Alvarez. Slow steps. I tap my phone and show the appointment block. We can bring a notebook. Pastor Ruth can join us in spirit or sit in if you like. Let's have her nearby, Tessa says. Maybe we plan a calm dinner after, so we don't carry it into bedtime. She smiles at the thought, then grows quiet. If I need to pause halfway, I'll say so. Cedar still works, I say. And she nods. We talk about watching Mom's video again. Not now, but in a few weeks. Maybe on a rainy afternoon with the kettle steady and the house unhurried. When the edges aren't so sharp, Tessa says. We can listen for the parts we missed. The moth taps at the screen, gentle as a fingertip. The clock ticks toward evening. I feel the day settle inside me, ache and relief sharing a chair. We carry our mugs to the sink and run warm water over the honeyed rims. I jot Thursday, 2 p.m., arrive early on the calendar pinned by the phone. I'll call Hale in the morning to say thank you, I add. We walk to the door together, porch light ready, and stand a moment in the soft, almost night, planning tomorrow's small calls before we part. Later, alone, I take the brass key from my coin purse and lay it on the table beside Mom's note. The paper is still smooth from her desk, the ink calm. Unit 17B, open with grace. The house answers with its small evening sounds, the kettle drying itself, the clock's patient tick, a car passing and fading like a slow breath. I tidy the last of the day's tools. The clipboard goes to the cupboard, pens back in their cup, blue tape rolled tight. On the sideboard, the climate-safe container waits. I check the red seals on the letters box, numbers straight, tape unbroken, then nestle it into the container Ms. Harper left and slide the lid until it clicks. I set the label where I can see our names and the date, then carry the box to the cool closet shelf above the winter boots. At the little desk, I open my laptop. One message, addressed with care, goes to all who steadied us. Attorney Hale, Maya and her crew, Ms. Lynn, Ms. Patel, Ms. Alvarez, Deputy Hart, Mr. Ortiz, Carla, and the clerk for Judge Morales. Thank you for your kindness and your boundaries, I write. Thank you for letting law and love be neighbors today. I add 2 photos for the file, the deed stamp and the seal receipt, and press send. The soft whoosh sounds like a curtain settling. I print a copy for the folder and slide it under the brass paperclip. I fold my quilt over the armchair my mother favored, smoothing the star where her needle once mended a seam. In my mind, I see the others traveling. One over a stroller, one across a senior's knees, a stack warming the shelter's cots like small suns. I picture the unit door closed, the new lock bright, the court seal a quiet ribbon that says cared for. On the table, the key rests beside the note. No longer a question, but a symbol set down. I read the words again. Open with grace, and feel how they worked on us, how they still will. Tessa will choose her beginnings in her time. Thursday at 2 waits in my calendar, and between now and then there is tea to make, bread to slice, slow walks to take. I turn off lamps one by one. The porch light glows its soft halo on the steps. A promise kept. I draw the curtains, wash my hands, and whisper, "Grace." Then I leave the key and the note where the morning can find them, and let the house breathe. Outside, crickets start their thin chorus, and the porch light keeps watch while the rooms grow still tonight.